There was tons of movement, not necessarily from the people we expected, and then some we expected, and yeah, there was movement this year for sure.
So first we got to begin off how it all started, just out of nowhere. We
Right.
just gonna send Jewel Lord to the Las Vegas Aces. Like,
So I knew Jewel was going to be out of Seattle. I knew that was happening. Vegas was not on my radar whatsoever because, obviously we'll get to the position that she's filling and what that player left. So that enabled that spot to be there. But this one is interesting. I mean, obviously, I think Jewel is an incredibly talented young lady. She's gone through a bit of a shooting slump over the last season and a half. So, she's going to answer some questions, I do think that things are situational, though. So being unhappy in Seattle can lead your numbers to looking poorly when in reality, you're probably not that bad. It just wasn't the right situation. So looking to see her kind of get back to her gold Mamba days. Putting up 30 and 40 points in a game, maybe even having a chance of being the scoring champ. Like, I would love to see that out of Jewel this year.
now they also the Aces did add Cheyenne Parker Tice to the team as well.
Right. Now, adding Cheyenne, I think, really helps in their 4 and 5 deficiency. Obviously, they have Asia, and while she is technically a 4, she plays the 5 quite a bit. And we've seen that scenario in Vegas basically since Liz Cambage left Vegas. They haven't had a true center, and so they were running small ball with De'Erica Hamby there for a while, and her and Asia are both the same size, and we're able to bounce back and forth between the 5 and the 4 accordingly. Currently, right now, their starting center is Kia Stokes. And while she is a defensive presence, you're not going to get any scoring out of her. So Cheyenne will be a nice boost to that.
Now I will say this before we get to the missing piece from the Las Vegas Aces, the reason
Right.
why Jewel is there, they did lose Alicia Clark to
Okay, so
Seattle.
this one's big. Now, Alicia went back to Seattle, correct?
Yes.
And that's where she's played most of her career. So, not surprised by that move. Now, their coach Noelle, while she's only been the head coach for a few years, she was the assistant for quite a while. So, I'm sure she's worked with Alicia before, and hopefully, this will be a better fit. Um, I that one will hurt Vegas. Losing Alicia will hurt.
Now the big news out of Vegas went to LA.
Right.
Part of the trade to get Drew Lloyd to Vegas was Kelsey Plum goes to LA.
Right. Now, almost all last season, KP did not look in sync with her team. And, she was going through a lot of personal drama off of the court. And, me personally, I'm not one to judge. So it wasn't the greatest season for her, though. It was inconsistent. There were times when she looked like herself, and there were times when she wasn't very relevant. But I think that they had several injuries going on at Vegas at the time. Chelsea Gray wasn't there for the first half of the season. I think she came back 2 games before the Olympic break. So, we didn't get to see Chelsea healthy. And we will see that. Obviously, if you've been watching Unrivaled, we know the point guard is healthy. So,
The MVP of Unrivaled, by the way.
I do like this fit for KP though, and it's actually because of somebody that you don't have pictured here, and that's De'Erica Hamby is playing for LA as well, which is KP's best friend. So I think going through a lot of personal drama and then being able to go work with your best friend, like that could help alleviate that. So while I don't think the Sparks are going to be a great team this upcoming year, obviously it depends if Cam is available. I don't know that Cam is available. It's going to take a little time. I think LA will be a good team next season. This year they'll probably be a mid team, closer to 9, 8 seed. 8 is very high on the ranking there. I feel like
I think Cam should be ready. Well, she might not be ready for May, but about June, July, she should be ready.
it's
She's been in the
contingent on
room.
that. It
She's
is
been in the room.
contingent on that because they don't get me wrong. There were times last season when you could see this what the Sparks have, and also FYI, they got a new head coach too. So, and I don't hate their head coaching hire. It was the former head coach of the Utah women's basketball team, so somebody that has been involved in women's basketball for 25 years, I believe, or more. So, I think he's a great hire. I would like to see more female
Yeah.
coaches.
Speaking of head coaches, I'm going to get this out the way because I know how you feel. Your team got a new head coach, and it wasn't the particular coach that you actually wanted. You want to go ahead and get out your chest now?
About Kurt Miller.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and get off your chest now because
Oh
this is
well,
where you're
Kurt.
at.
Well, he's not the head coach, but he is the GM of the Dallas Wings now. And I will say the roster changes that the Wings have had this off season, and then also we heard Paige declared today for the draft. So obviously, I feel like she's going to go number one. Olivia Miles will probably go number two. Olivia had a case at maybe passing Paige for the number one spot, but Notre Dame has kind of fallen off these last 3 weeks, and then
No, we'll get to that.
specifically in the ACC champion or not championship in the semis, Liv had a terrible game. So I don't think that she's going to be able to. I mean, it was a kind of a small chance of her being able to pass Paige anyway. Paige kind of struggled a little bit in the first part of this year too. She has since found her form again, so we'll see Paige in Dallas. And I have to say the other pieces that Kurt added as a GM, I think they're good. I think they're good moves. I don't like him as a coach.
I was like, you might as well go ahead and get it out the way now
Yeah, I don't like him as a coach. I
because I
sure
know how
don't.
you feel about him, but he's a part of the Wings organization now.
He is, and I am going to be cheering for the Valkyries.
Valkyries. Oh man.
Yeah.
So, uh, next thing that I did notice, Phoenix Mercury, full makeover, in a good way, by the way.
Right.
When you do full makeovers, it's like, okay, we turn it down, we're gonna build from scratch. No, they do the full makeover, and it's like, no, we still going to contend.
Right.
Speaking of a
So
former Dallas Wing, Satu Sabali is now part of the Mercury. Elisa Thomas from Connecticut Sun is now part of the Mercury. I see what you're doing, Phoenix. I see what you're doing.
I love the rebuild that they have going on here, and it's probably a retool because Kalia was there last year, so she's already kind of in the groove of things. It is her team, but I think adding Satu is huge, and then obviously adding AT was surprising. I expected her wife to sign with Phoenix, to be perfectly honest, and she made a splash somewhere else. So it was surprising for me, but I like this team. I think that they're going to be a very strong defensive team. It'll be different without DT there, though. And not that it wasn't time. I don't want to say that it wasn't time, but somebody that was still averaging 16 points in year 20, you're going to miss that. So she'll be in the building. I'm sure you'll be able to feel her presence there. So, we saw an interview from DT, I think last week, or her exit interview, and
Yeah, I
was
mean, you can tell by the way she talked. She knew it was time.
yeah, she did. But that she also said that she's going to be doing what the X Factor does, and that so she's going to be in the stands cheering for the team. So she'll be there. It's going to be different. And so while we're going to see the evolution of what Phoenix can be without DT, because it's been 20 years, it was time. And at least that coach has a year under his belt of being there in Phoenix now. We like to call him Girl Dad. So I hope he's successful with this new crew that he's got. I think adding Sawtooth was huge. So if she can be healthy, question mark, that's what their season's probably going to depend on.
Now, before I go to the next major team, Brittany Griner is also no longer with the Phoenix Mercury. She went to the
Correct.
Atlanta Dream. Atlanta Dream made a couple of interesting moves, getting not only with BG, but they did get Brianna Jones, and they did
Right.
get Joy in Canada. So cool. Whenever you listen to this,
I think Phoenix, like I said, I think that they were starting this rebuild last year while they still had those pieces that they knew that they were about to lose. The BG move is interesting. I think that her destinations were limited. I don't think everybody was ready to throw down for BG. And so I don't know if this is the correct fit there in Atlanta, but I'm glad that she's still going to get a chance to ball somewhere. But it was time for Phoenix to do this.
So you have that. Also, I would be remiss to bring up the Seattle Storm again because we talked about Alicia Clark. They
Right.
re-signed Neko Gumake. They bringing back Gabby Williams.
Mm-hmm.
They also got Katie Lou Samuel, and they got Lexi Brown in a trade with the LA Sparks.
And Katie Lou, I believe she's played there in Seattle before. So once again, I think that's adding back a piece that is used to being there. Katie Lou has a lot to prove this season, I feel like, or she's going to be kind of like BG, that her destinations will be limited if she doesn't do a little more backing up the salary that she's been getting, because she's been getting max salaries the last couple of contracts and she really hadn't been delivering. So, obviously them being paid more is a whole different topic, but you were getting paid what is allotted as a max contract or close to a max contract, and you really didn't deliver much the last 2 seasons. So it's a put up or shut up season for Katie Lou. I think the biggest thing that comes out of this trade, though, and even with them adding Alicia Clark back, the biggest thing for them is what are they going to do with that number 2 pick? I think you should go with Olivia Miles, but hopefully they don't mess it up.
Yeah, that draft is still to come. Can't wait for that one.
Right.
Now, our next team, to me, the team that has won free agency. the team that has won the free agency, because good gracious.
Yeah, for sure. So the Fever, they added DeWanna Bonner. And this was such a shocking move, but shouldn't have been a shocking move. I think we were all, once we saw AT signed with Phoenix, I think we were all thinking like, okay, so Swan Song, maybe DT comes back, maybe DeWanna comes back, and they ride it out for one last season there in Phoenix. And it didn't work out that way. Now, her going to Indiana shouldn't be such a shocker because her former coach is there, and Stephanie White. Stephanie White is a franchise Fever person. Not only does she play for them, but she's already coached them before. So it's basically a home going for Stephanie. And I don't think that necessarily that they would have had a coaching change unless only Stephanie was available. I think Christy did a okay enough job that they were going to roll with her unless this one person became available, and that was Stephanie White. And she did become available. I think that her in Connecticut, and as we see with Connecticut, everybody wanted out. So I don't think that was necessarily just on Stephanie wanting to walk away from the team. I think that everybody was sick of what was going on in Connecticut.
Unfortunately, one Maria Marbury is stuck in Staten Island right now.
So Marina, and I see a lot of people, this is something I do want to kind of get off my chest, actually. I see a lot of people that criticize Marina because they say she forced the trade there in Chicago, but there was a lot of things going on behind closed doors. The changing in coaching staff, because it was more than just Spoon that got let go, was because of how the Marina situation was handled. And it was proven that what Marina said was true, or they wouldn't have moved on from the coaching staff. And like I said, it was more than just Spoon. And I don't think that Spoon was necessarily involved, but she knew and didn't do anything to change it. So, it was not a good situation there in Chicago. So I don't blame her for forcing her way out of there. And then the Dallas move, like I said, I heard a lot of people say, oh, she forced her way out. She didn't force her way out of Dallas. I was actually in that locker room at that time, or not specifically in that locker room, but I was covering them at that time, and actually got a chance to talk to her the day before the trade was finalized. And she was obviously upset about the trade. So there's nothing in me that can make me believe that she forced that trade. Arike is her best friend. They've been playing together since Notre Dame. So they've been playing together for like 9 years at the time. She didn't want to leave Dallas. So I'm not a fan of how things were handled in Connecticut. And, as far as the fans saying she forced her way out, I think maybe know a little more about the W and the situations behind closed doors. And then you can say that.
I don't mind trying to force her way out of Connecticut because all of a sudden you got to a team that can compete, and next thing you know, soon the
But
offseason come
everybody's gone.
around,
She's
and
literally the
everybody's
only.
gone. It's like, wait a minute.
That's not her fault. I feel like I mean, and then obvious, we want to talk about Connecticut a little bit. Why does she want out of Connecticut? Why did everybody leave Connecticut? Y'all, the ladies were in the semifinals, and yes, they had made the playoffs like 8 years in a row. So they knew that likely that this space that they needed for the team to practice and play was going to be occupied by the team. Well, here they are in the semis the day before they go play that game or that series, and they got to share the court with a child's birthday party. On top of, they didn't even have lockers or any facilities or anything like that. So I don't blame her for wanting out of Connecticut. Now, it is a business. Did Connecticut say, no, you're the only one we got, we're not letting you go? Yeah, that's what they said, and it's a business. I can't really blame them either, but I can blame them for the way they treat their players and their staff. That's why they don't have anybody left.
Now getting back into Indiana, who won the offseason, in my
Ooh.
opinion, they re-signed Kelsey Mitchell. I said, oh, that's
Which was huge because we thought we were going to see her in Seattle. She had her moments of unhappiness, especially there at the end of the season. So we didn't know if Kelsey was going to come back. Them being able to re-sign Kelsey is huge. I thought that she would have been a great fit in Seattle when, in fact, her teammate actually went and joined Seattle. The two of them together is not good, Erica Wheeler and Kelsey Mitchell. They end up playing ISO ball and not working as a team. That's why Erica got benched this last season. And we all knew it needed to happen. And it needed to happen the season before that. So I love this move. And I'm very excited to see what happens with Kelsey and a new coach being able to work with the rotations that they have now.
Now, we talked about the one Obama, but you brought in a winner in Natasha Howard.
Oh, this is huge. I was sick when I heard that Flash was going to Indiana because I have my frustrations with Dallas, but of course I'm still paying attention to them. And Natasha, like you said, she's a proven winner. She's a champion. And on the Dallas squad, she was the only champion on the squad, and DeWanna brings that same pedigree as well. So together, that is a lot of defense. And then one of their biggest moves was another Phoenix player. And
you bring in a sniper.
You bring in possibly.
You bring in a sniper
for sure, and she's somebody that, like, coming off the bench. She's going to be somebody that she's definitely going to be 6th woman of the year, most likely coming off of this in this scenario. She was already in consideration 6th woman of the year last year, and it was a mess in Phoenix some games. It's not going to be a mess in Indiana. She's going to come in, and it's going to look like Patty Mills or Danny Green or Manu Ginobili coming off the bench, putting up big numbers. That's what it's going to look like.
And those of you trying to figure out what we're talking about, Sophia Cunningham.
Yeah.
Going to Indiana.
Correct.
To play alongside Caitlin Clark. Good gracious.
And Aaliyah Boston, yeah. And Lexi Hull is still there too. So I think them being able to hold on to Lexi Hull was a big thing as well. That is a defensive presence. And a lot of times last year, she was one of the only ones playing defense. So being able to retain that, and then you add Natasha, who plays, she plays a lot of defense. And then DeWanna too. So like you said, one free agency.
They won free agency. Now, I will bring up the Chicago Sky. They get back Courtney Vandersloot from the New York Liberty.
So this is not a move that surprised me either. I don't think that Sloot really even wanted to go to New York, other than the fact that Stewie was going to be there. We knew that they wanted to kind of reunite and play together again. Sloot is from New York, so I don't think that was necessarily out of the realm for her, but the Chicago's home now. She's been there for so long. And then Allie, her wife, is from the Chicago area. She made a name for herself there at DePaul. And we know Chicago's not known a whole lot for their college basketball level. And so
for me, I think Courtney wanting to go out with the team that she knows best.
Agree. No, I agree with that. And there was, because Allie's never officially retired. Last year she was listed as sitting out. And then it was contract problems. And a lot of that went back to James Wade. And Courtney and Allie were not, the last season that they played together at Chicago, we didn't even know if they were going to be there until right before the season started, because that's how long it took for them to do contract negotiations. And James Wade dropped the ball on that and then left the team halfway through the season.
Yeah. And then talking about, they bring in Kia Nurse. Rock with that. But the surprising move.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that pickup. Kia, while a veteran in the game, and I'm sure that she'll be able to add her basketball IQ to that situation, her best days are behind her. That last injury, she's never looked the same. So that's the facts of the situation.
Oh, I don't agree, but I don't disagree. But my thing is this: did I see that the Washington Mystics traded Aria Atkins to the Chicago Sky?
They did. And so this was a shocker for me. I do think that she's going to fit in well there in Chicago. I want to shout it out real quick. Texas alum. We love Era. Hope she does well over there. I loved the fit that they had in Washington with Kira, her, Deladon. And it just, as we saw what happened there in Washington, it was injury after injury and then poor moves by front office. So I'm surprised to see her go to Chicago, but I hope it works out for her, because obviously things are really bad there in DC.
Because that threw me, I'm like, wait a minute.
Right. No, I wasn't expecting that move.
Now most people was looking at Chicago for trading their first round pick. I'm like, y'all do realize they just got Aria Atkins, right?
Yeah, she's one of the only college players to make Team USA. Like, she just needs to be in the right situation. She's definitely a baller.
Everybody's fascinated with these draft picks. I'm like, but y'all do realize what they just got, right? That's
right.
That's not just no ordinary player that they just grabbed.
No,
Eric, with Camilla Cardozo and Angel Reese.
Yeah, she's a franchise player. So and she's going to add some veteran leadership that team desperately needs.
Now, before I get to my last team on here, you did bring up the Golden State Valkyries.
Yeah.
How did you feel? How do you think they did in the expansion draft?
I thought it was interesting that they didn't take anybody from Seattle. They said, nah.
No mas.
They didn't want any parts of that. And I don't know if Jordan Horston was available, but that's probably who I would have gone after. Like I said, I don't know if she was available or not, but that's who I would have gone after. Now, their pickup of Kate Martin, I thought that was huge. Kate is going to have to, we're going to have to see what type of level she can be at. Vegas is, when she got drafted to Vegas, my thought was, and because it was the second round, I was like, I couldn't believe that they got Kate Martin to Vegas. And she looked great in Vegas. It was one of the only bench players that Becky Hammon trusted to come in. So I think that says a lot. I think she's incredibly coachable. So, and then going to a team that, they have, it's her former assistant that was at Vegas that is now the head coach there in Golden State. I think that that'll probably be a seamless transition for her. I just worry about the injury history, because it was looking like, and it didn't all the way rupture, but she bruised her Achilles last year. So, and that's scary. So we'll see what type of level she's at. But, we all talked about Caitlin at Iowa, but who was her right-hand woman? Kate.
That would be Kate Martin. They did get Kayla Thornton from the Liberty. That really hurt.
Huge.
That hurt so much.
Yeah, I know that hurts as a Liberty fan, even as a Wings fan, because Kayla played for us for quite some time as well. And she's an incredible guard. Now, she's not going to be somebody that is going to be your top shooter every night, but I think that she has really good court vision, and she plays defense really well, and that's going to be needed. Obviously, Golden State's not going to be good this year. It's not going to happen. It doesn't. They're going to get the 5th pick in all 3 rounds. They will next year probably get the top draft pick or close to the top draft pick. And they'll be able to build more there, but they're not going to be good this season. However, them picking up Tip, I thought was huge from Vegas too. So that was a free agency move. It wasn't the expansion draft, but that was huge. They need veteran leadership there. So big for them, but not. They haven't spent any money during free agency. I'll say that. Besides tip.
But Indiana might have won free agency.
Oh, for sure. For
But
sure.
trying to dethrone the champ has got a whole lot harder.
So this pickup right here. Now we knew she was traded from Phoenix to Connecticut, and obviously a part of the Alyssa Thomas trade. And she did not want to be in Connecticut, and who can blame her? Nobody wants to be there. So why not go somewhere where one you need to fill in a slot for somebody that was aging and transitioning? She's going to be transitioning out of the league. She probably signed her last contract, Courtney Vandersloot. There was even in the playoffs, they had Courtney coming off the bench, and it started to look a little bit better. So, Tosh has her work cut out for her. But once again, I think she's an excellent defensive guard, and she really shocked me there in Phoenix and backed it up with the shooting. Had one of her best shooting years too. So, I love this move for New York.
Oh, I definitely love. I said, whoa, wait a minute.
Right? No, great move.
Y'all just not give New York a dog here.
Right.
Y'all just gave New York a dog. That's all we needed.
The only concern I have for New York actually came out a couple days ago, and Stewie had to have a scope of her knee, and that is concerning. They said she'll be back for training camp, and she'll be good to go. And as we know with the meniscus, if it's just a tear, you just got to stay off of it and give it a certain amount of time, and then you'll be back on the court. Stewie has an injury history though, and she's not old, but getting towards the end of her prime. It's concerning.
It is concerning, but
I'm not gonna like write her off and say she's not a top 5 player in the league right now, because she absolutely is. But it didn't look good in the run. It didn't look good.
You still got Sabrina.
You got Sabrina, yeah.
You still got the other Sabali.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, who was the key factor in Game 5 of that championship?
Absolutely, series. And that was shocking to me because she's never been the standout sister, in my opinion.
So, you still got Lainey Hamilton. Now that she has some rest from that surgery that she had on her knee.
Right.
We don't have to rush Stewie. We can
slow play it. I thought if there was anybody that was going to be the movable piece there in New York, it was going to be Betnijah, because of her trade stock is so high. And I'm glad that y'all didn't move on from her. Well, I think she's very talented. So glad that you didn't have to move that piece. That's like how I felt with the San Antonio De'Aaron Fox, and I just didn't want to lose Castle. And I think that's probably how New York felt. Like, hey, we need to make a move. We need to do something. But I don't want to let go of this one piece, and that's the piece everybody wants, and it was Betnijah.
So, hey, we're bringing the dog to the champs. We already got the coaches already set, so it ain't like we got to change anything. Right. The coaches are already set. Yeah. Natasha already know what kind of coaches she's going into, and brother, she speak on it. She speak on the fact that even when she played against New York, she just loved that entire organization and that fan base. So.
I love Sandy. I think clearly Phoenix moved on and shouldn't have. But I mean, 6-1, half a dozen another. Maybe it's a better situation. Maybe her time there in Phoenix had played out, but I don't think Sandy was the reason it wasn't working at that moment.
So, hey, thank you, Connecticut, for continuing to being a strange franchise this offseason.
Man.
Because while you being strange, go ahead and help my team out while you at it.
Right.
Pretty much. The funny thing is you helped the one team that you had a hard problem getting past.
Right.
The one team that you had a hard time getting past.
And Connecticut is not going to be what they were the last 4 years, honestly. They're not going to be that. So
I see them at the bottom of the league.
That's absolutely where they will be. And yeah, that's what's going to happen with Connecticut. They're not going to be good.
All right. Got our WNBA talking. No worry, you'll hear more from the Queen of Hoops.
WNBA. 2 last pieces of the WNBA that I thought were interesting, and you may not, I'm sure you probably don't have a graphic for it, but speaking of pieces from Connecticut that left, Dejanay Carrington landed in Dallas, and then so did her partner, Nalissa Smith from the Fever. I think that'll be interesting. Those are those pieces that Kurt Miller added that I was actually like, maybe he's better at building a team than coaching a team. So we'll see how it works out. It doesn't always work out like Penny and DT on the court. So, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, you have a defensive mind in Dejanay. You
Yep.
already know who the superstar is. That's no question. You know who the superstar of the team is. So you know who's the one going to put up the Kobe numbers. And yes, I said Kobe, okay?
Yeah, well, because of shooting percentages, I know. Y'all get off Enrique.
And that's how she plays, though. It's not about the shooting percentage, but that's how she plays like Kobe.
She does. She doesn't like to pass the ball. I love her.
And when she's on, good luck.
Right. Oh, for sure. For sure.
You seen the All-Star game?
My favorite thing about Enrique is I feel like she's Candace 2.0. She hates Team USA. She doesn't hate them, but she called them out for their politics, and I apprecited that. And
the funny thing was,
same thing.
When she was okay, the coach like, no, I don't want to go back in. Let Enrique continue. Don't, nope. She on one. I'm gonna stay right here on the bench. I rather talk to the game crew and then just let her continue to be high. Right. I was like, I can't fault Caitlin on that one because she was on. Right. But hey, 2028. This should be one of the best squads we should have, and everybody should be thrilled. There should be no snubs.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be different this upcoming year. And I know we got the gold, but we kind of got to avenge that last game because it was a 1-point differential. It was the smallest margin ever in Team USA. So
I'm good. We got to go. That's all that matters.
Oh, hey, we got it. I'm not knocking them. And France is talented. France was a talented team, so not a knock to them. And we'll see a couple of those ladies actually. From the France team will be playing in the WNBA this year. Besides Gabby, some of her teammates will also be there. So we'll see them.